Hello viewer, and welcome to episode 5 of Sketchy Stories. Today I'll be talking about my fan art representing the Ichigo vs Ulquiorra fight from the Bleach anime/manga. So just in case, spoiler warning if you haven't seen it, and also apologies if I butchered some names in advance. So let's get to it. Bleach, whether you love or not so love it, still had some pretty cool characters. Kubo consistently, well in my opinion, does a pretty good job at making first impressions of characters, where he usually sets up cool moments for these characters when introduced. He does this thing where he shows a hint of the person's power, but still maintains an air of mystery to make us wanting more. Kubo also similarly writes fights well, conveying the personality of the characters, while also making the character interactions feel organic. I would say the reveal of a character's full power or ability in a fight is mostly done well. I feel Bleach does fall short, starting at the fake Karakura town arc, where characters that were hyped up don't really have a satisfying payoff, or not much attention was given to them. But I'm here to talk about what Kubo does well, which inspired me to create this not quite masterpiece, but getting back on track. Let's start with Ichigo, the main protagonist introduced, and his cool moment was when he somehow managed to break Rukia's Kido seal when he was a normal human at the time, but it was hinted that he was gifted with a high spirit power or Ryatsu. Throughout the series, Ichigo has been shown to grow exponentially in power after gaining his Shinigami abilities, rivaling those of captain level. And we also learn about Ichigo's character, the tried and true tough guy with the heart of gold, who has a sense of responsibility and honor. You can read or watch all about his progress and character growth in the manga or anime. Moving on to Ulquiorra, we first see him scouting Karakura town, introduced as an emotionless, calculating individual, casually calling people with low Ryatsu trash. And we also see his power being unleashed when he casually backhands Yami to calm him down, and when he blocks Urahara's Shikai attack. There's also this funny-ish moment when Yoroichi taunts him into staying to fight, and Ulquiorra just bluntly refuses and essentially walks away. So, there we have it, the clash of personalities, the responsible tough guy Ichigo versus Ulquiorra, the emotionless strategist. It has been established that Ichigo's power grows exponentially, whereas Ulquiorra is hinted to be an already exceedingly powerful individual. For some context to the setup of the fight, Inoue is kidnapped in Hueco Mondo, the home of the Hollows, where the Hollows are the main enemies to the Shinigami. At this time, Ulquiorra is in Hueco Mondo, in charge of watching over Inoue, and Ichigo is about to face him, with probably some help from Ishida. And there's also other Arrancar and Espada involved. You can check out what happens in the anime or manga. Okay, fight begins. Ichigo goes all out, donning his hollow mask and Bankai form, and he's doing pretty well against Ulquiorra. But wait, Ulquiorra has not unleashed his resurrection form, which is the equivalent to a Bankai for Shinigami. So, Ulquiorra does that, and it becomes pretty clear Ichigo is outmatched. Interestingly, at this point, we see Ulquiorra displaying some form of emotion. Specifically, he gets angry, annoyed, or frustrated, or a mix of all three, seeing Ichigo is still not giving up. Even revealing his second resurrection form, Ichigo still won't give up, despite being even more outclassed. So the reason explained by Ichigo and friends for not giving up is the idea of the heart, which I believe is a metaphor for one's loved ones and drive to protect and care for them. So Ulquiorra, still confused, pretty much kills Ichigo. Things happen. Read or watch all about it. And Ichigo then morphs into a fully hollow form. So Hollow Ichigo manages to turn the battle in his favour, eventually fatally wounding Ulquiorra. But of course, something is wrong. Ichigo, as a hollow, has pretty much lost all sense of reason. So Ishida receives Ichigo's sword in his gut as thanks for trying to get Ichigo to stop, and Inoue tries to plead with him, and it works, in getting Ichigo to charge up a zero towards her. Luckily, Ulquiorra has a change of heart, pun intended, and cuts off one of Ichigo's horns. And this stops Ichigo from firing the zero and brings him back to his normal state. And afterwards, Ulquiorra does succumb to his wounds, but finally understands what a heart is, thus giving a bittersweet ending to his life. And read or watch all about it to see how it plays out. Okay, my take on Ulquiorra's change of heart is purely opinion based on what's been presented in the fight. For better or worse, Kubo is generally vague when weaving his themes into the story. It's usually in the form of a character giving a small exposition, and then the actions of the characters elaborate on that theme. In this case, it is the explanation of the heart. So, back to Ulquiorra. I believe his character growth is due to seeing Ichigo closing and exceeding the power gap, having earlier seen Ichigo's will to keep fighting for his friends despite all odds. Being a calculated person, Ulquiorra sees that something tangible was produced from Ichigo's heart and sort of support from his friends, that being Ichigo's hollow form. Ironically though, Ulquiorra sees that Ichigo's hollow form, a product of the heart, has become more effective at being a merciless and emotionless fighter. This is witnessed when Hollow Ichigo pretty much steamrolls Ulquiorra without letting up, and when Ichigo, as a hollow, starts turning on his friends. Comparatively, Ulquiorra earlier was the emotionless and merciless fighter who was toying with Ichigo due to his need to disprove the existence of the heart previously. Seeing Ichigo about to kill Inoue, I believe that's when Ulquiorra wholeheartedly believed in the existence of this heart. So he cuts off Ichigo's horn to save Inoue, I believe to protect this heart that Ichigo had with his friends. At the time, I'm guessing Ulquiorra's thought processes were that he conceded the heart can give you the power to protect your friends, as Ichigo had argued. However, it is also able to drive you to become an exceedingly powerful and emotionless machine, which is what Ulquiorra previously saw himself as. Anyway, that's just my take on the whole battle. Not sure if that's what Kubo really wanted to convey. I just connected the dots that way, so to speak. Feel free to agree or disagree with me. Well, I think I hollowed out the backstory behind my inspiration already. Now on to the inking process. Here, I tried to draw Ichigo's hollow form as accurately and as simply as possible. For Ichigo's hollow mask, I made sure to draw in the basic stripes, and I also tried to keep the hairballs on Ichigo's wrists and neck in a simple hairball shape. Drawing Ichigo wearing half the coat or cowl was accurate to the character, but also good practice for me in drawing characters wearing asymmetrical or torn off clothing. I also experimented with trying to create a 3D effect on Ichigo's hollow hole, and made sure to imply the hollow hole was throughout his whole body, where I drew or coloured in Ichigo's hair where the hollow hole was to give that effect. To practice drawing angles, I drew Ichigo's sword in a slanted down angle for that purpose. And further to the sword itself, I wanted to make sure it was accurate to what it was supposed to look like in Bunkai form. The main detail I wanted to get right was drawing the sword hilt, which is supposed to be shaped as the manji symbol, used commonly in Buddhism to symbolize prosperity and happiness. As you may have noticed, if you mirror flipped that manji symbol, it will end up looking like a more unsavory symbol. So yeah, I made extra care to draw the manji symbol correctly. Ichigo and Ulquiorra were drawn and positioned in a way to imply that Ichigo was holding Ulquiorra up with his left hand, presumably by the neck. I also made sure to strategically position Ulquiorra to cover Ichigo's left side to save work on drawing in Ichigo's left arm. And I also intentionally drew Ulquiorra's hair to be long enough to cover his hollow hole to make him appear less of a hollow to symbolize his character growth. The crimson streak and motion lines trailing the sword were to show that Ichigo was cutting Ulquiorra, while also trying to imply that Ichigo was using his Getsuga Tensho attack. The green spiky things that you might be able to see on Ichigo's left torso are supposed to be Ulquiorra's energy lance attack. I added in motion lines to the energy lance to hopefully give more notice to it and imply Ulquiorra was also fighting back despite Ichigo holding him by the neck with his one hand in the drawing. These additions were to be my unique flair for the drawing, as to my knowledge, Ichigo's Getsuga Tensho was never used in his hollow form. Also in the fight, Ulquiorra's energy lances I don't think were ever seen piercing hollow Ichigo in the torso. This is all for a good cause to make my fan art more distinguishable. When originally posted, the slogan used was still in the era of the question punchline combo. The question being, what was the outcome of Ichigo and Ulquiorra's fight? With the answer being, it was a hollow victory for Ichigo. To save on words, I changed the final slogan to Ichigo versus Ulquiorra. 'Twas a hollow victory. I felt this was really right for the taking, since Ichigo became a hollow to beat Ulquiorra, and he won at the cost of his sanity. So yeah, I definitely felt I got a hole in one with that. And of course I used "twas" to sound fancy and to save syllables, while it definitely had a nice flow to the slogan, I think. Well, I think I've bleached out all the details for this fan art. Time to come clean on how to improve it. Looking back at it, I think I probably coloured the night sky too dark, and it is pretty hard to see hollow Ichigo's arm, along with Ulquiorra's hair and arms. Also, I still can't shake off the shaky line work, specifically with hollow Ichigo's abs, the motion lines, and my attempt at drawing the stars in the background. Also, the stripes on Ichigo's chest look a bit uneven in hindsight. my drawing of Ulquiorra could definitely be done up better. Looking at the midsection where there was a line drawn across it, previously to separate the torso and lower body. It kind of looks unnatural in hindsight and probably looked better without it. Also, Ulquiorra's tail could have been drawn better. Right now it looks a bit too shriveled up. Also, if you notice where Ulquiorra's right armpit is, I kind of forgot to color in the background there. But that's just something to learn for next time. All that aside, I am happy with how Hollow Ichigo turned out. Specifically, the drawing of the teeth on the Hollow mask I felt was done well. And Ichigo's sword looked pretty good to me. So yeah, in conclusion, decent fan art, mistakes were made, but overall a job satisfactorily done. At least I had a whole load of fun doing this. That's it for today. Hope my ramblings were entertaining or at least background noise worthy. So thanks for watching and hope to see you again in the next vid.